Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Shalom and welcome. This is Words and Questions to Yashar'al, Nation of Believers. My name is Symmanayah, and if you're tuning in for the first time to any of these messages, you will come to know that Yashar'al, Nation of Believers, of whom I am referencing, consists of all, and let me repeat, all those who seek to worship and obey the Almighty Father Yahuah, who accepts Yahushua as Mashiach, as our Messiah. These are my brothers and sisters. This is my family, of whom these messages are addressed to. With that stated, today is September 27th, 2013. In this segment of Words to Yashar'al, Words and Questions to Yashar'al, in this segment, I want to address clues of destruction. Clues of destruction. Famine, drought, pestilence, diseases. Will you seek to gain your life or lose it for the Almighty Father Yahuah? This is the question entering into this segment. Yes, my brothers and sisters. Questions that it would be wise for us to ponder on, pray about. For some of you, you may think that I'm trying to fuel the spirit of fear, anxiety. Choose your position, my brothers and sisters, and pray and ask yourself, do the scriptures refer to such? Are the realities of end-time prophecies consistent with descriptions that may include destruction of the wicked, of the rebellious? Will you seek to gain this life or lose it for the Almighty Yahuah? Let us dive into this. There is no argument to the fact that we have reached end times. Most believers have come to embrace that these are the last days before the return of our Mashiach, our Messiah. I presented Matthew 24th chapter and Amos 4th chapter for your examination in times past. I have also mentioned that I am compelled to believe we will witness Yashar'al being gathered and guided to a safe place during the rise of end-time events. Furthermore, I have acknowledged that I am also compelled to believe that some of us will be martyrs. Escaping the reality of being left behind in or dying has not eluded or evaded my thoughts as well. Belief is a challenging thing. Seeking to identify the voice of the Spirit of Yahushua is not without its struggles. Knowing that the flesh lusts in or fight against the Spirit of righteousness and embracing restoration and regeneration power of the Spirit of Yahushua has made this journey an experience of life most identified. In times past, I have submitted that the structure of these earthen vessels we know as our bodies contain the spirit of man. For those who are truly Yashar'al, the Spirit of Yahushua, the Spirit of Yahuah. He that has an ear will hear or come to hear in due season what the set-apart Spirit of Yahushua is saying to us individually into the assemblies regarding these earthen vessels, regarding our walk, our worship, our obedience, regarding the spirit that we have been given, that have been joined with him, that is housed in these earthen vessels. All understanding and proof will come to those who diligently seek him and are able to hear. Let's examine a few scriptures and consider what is unfolding before our eyes in these end times. Daniel 12:9, and he said, "Go, Daniel, for the words are hidden and sealed to the time of the end." What are the words? And that was Daniel 12:9. And so I want to ask the question, what are the words that you think that were hidden into the time of the end? Are we in the time of the ends? And what is being revealed to us to prepare us for the marriage of the Lamb? Prepare us for the return of our Mashiach. Revelation 10:4 reads, "And when the seven thunders spoke their sounds, I was about to write, but I heard a voice from the heavens saying to me, Seal up what the seven thunders spoke and do not write them." You see, my brothers and sisters, there are some things that were hidden. There are some things sealed up until an appointed time. Yes, my brothers and sisters, until an appointed time. And when is that appointed time? We will soon find out. Zephaniah 2:3 reads, "Seek Yahuah, all ye meek ones of the earth, who have done his right rulings. Seek righteousness, seek meekness, if so be that you are hidden in the day of wrath of Yahuah." Could this mean that Yashar'al, the meek ones, the obedient ones, those who execute his right rulings, those whom he has designated, could this mean when it says you're hidden in the day of wrath of Yahuah that we will be put in a safe place, with the exception of the martyrs, who too will find immeasurable life in due season? Could this mean, my brothers and sisters, that some will be possibly left behind due to unbelief and rebellion? Pray about it, my brothers. Isaiah 11:12 reads, "And he shall raise a banner for the nations and gather the outcasts of Yashar'al and assemble the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth." Had this prophecy been fulfilled? Would something like this happen again? Or are we waiting for it to be fulfilled? Pray on this, my brothers and sisters. Jeremiah 23:3 reads, "Therefore I shall gather the remnant of my flock out of all the lands where I have driven them, and shall bring them back to their fold, and they shall bear an increase." Will this happen before the return of the Mashiach? What say you, Yashar'al? Jeremiah 31, verse 7 through 10 reads, "For thus says Yahuah, sing with gladness, O Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. Cry out, give praise, and say, O Yahuah, save your people, the remnant of Yashar'al. See, I am bringing them from the land of the north, and shall gather them from the ends of the earth. And among them the blind and the lame, those with child and those in labor together. A great assembly returning here. With weeping they shall come, and with their prayers I bring them. I shall make them walk by rivers of waters, in a straight way in which they do not stumble. For I shall be a father to Yashar'al, and Ephraim he is my firstborn. Hear the word of Yahuah, O Gentiles, and declare it is the owls afar off, and say, He who scattered Yashar'al gathers him, and shall guard him as a shepherd his flock. What say you, Yashar'al? Will we witness these events occurring? We know that we won't just be beamed to a safe place. That is not what Scripture has led us to believe. So there will be a process in which Yashar'al will be gathered. Who has given thought to the warnings, to the living instructions, to the guidance that's being presented to train, develop, and prepare Yashar'al for the process, step by step, precept on precept, the coming and the going of Yashar'al as we are brought together, those who will represent the fulfillment of what is expected. Yes, there are those who will say these prophecies have been fulfilled, and there are those who expect to see a reflection and demonstration of Yashar'al's gathering in these last days before the return of our Mashiach. I urge you to earnestly pray on these matters, for there will come a time when the desire to participate will be too late. Do not succumb to unbelief. Do not allow self-appointed mores, teachers, self-appointed shepherds, or anyone cause you to fall victim to the influence of the enemy. Rise up, O Yashar'al. Rise up and embrace the path laid in front of us. It would be wise for us to realize that first, individually, we must choose to worship and obey the Most High Father Yahuah. We must come to accept Yahushua as Mashiach, as Messiah, on our own, individually. Upon doing so, it would be wise to expand our actions and establish an earnest mind and heart to obey the Ancient of Days. Next, we must come to understand that in our worship and obedience to the Most High Father, through the set-apart spirit He sent in Yahushua's name, You see, my brothers and sisters, we lift up Yahushua our Mashiach by our worship and obedience. And in doing so, it is he that will draw all men to him. Again, I want to reiterate that through our worship and obedience, we lift up Yahushua, our Mashiach, our Messiah, the sovereign of Yashar'al. Don't forget about the days of Noah or the days of Sodom and Gomorrah when Lot was saved from destruction. Remember, scriptures tell us, just like in the days of Noah and Lot, so will it be in end times. My brothers and sisters, destruction has begun. The destruction that represents the fruit of man's wickedness and rebellion is growing before our eyes. End time prophecies, as well as all scriptures that are made alive by the Spirit of Yahushua, has offered living instructions and guidance on what we should do, what we are to be doing. The reflections of the signs of the times are described with clues, described as famine, drought, pestilence, disease. Come, let us take another look at the possible face of all four of these clues. Well, first, let me reintroduce Genesis 47 chapter, specifically verses 13 through 19, that reads as follows. Genesis 47:13 reads, Now there was no bread in all the land, because the scarcity of food was very severe. And the land of Mitzrayim and all the land of Canaan became exhausted from the scarcity of food. And Joseph gathered up all the silver that was found in the land of Mitzrayim and in the land of Canaan for the grain which they bought. And Joseph brought the silver to Pharaoh's house. And when the silver was all spent in the land of Mitzrayim and in the land of Canaan, all the Mitzrayites came to Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the silver is gone. And Joseph said, Give your livestock, and I give you bread for your livestock if the silver is gone. Verse 17 through 19. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses and for the flocks that they owned, and for the herds that they owned, and for the donkeys. Thus he fed them with bread in exchange for all their livestock that year. And when the year, now let me pause for a minute, 17. Some might have said, well, why did they give the livestock? Why they didn't eat the livestock? Keep in mind the livestock would die and rot if they didn't have food to eat. You see, so the priority then became, what is the first food to reach the first stomach? In this case, it was man over the livestock. Just wanted to reiterate that. Verse 18, and when that year had ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, We do not hide from my master that our silver is all spent, and my master also that the livestock we own. Oh, and my master also has the livestock that we own. There is not any men left before my master, but our bodies and our lands. They're saying, okay, in other words, we're broke. Poverty became a factor. They didn't have anything to trade. So what happens in the 19th verse? It says, Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us in our land for bread, and let us in our land be servants of Pharaoh. And give us seed, and let us live and not die, and let the land not lie waste. So you see, my brothers and sisters, Genesis 47:13 through 19, man willingly gave themselves over to slavery. Yes, I've mentioned this in time past, but it is important that this is mentioned again. Why? Because I am compelled to do so, and I must and can only find shalom in being obedient to he that I believe is influencing me. Moving right along, back to the end time prophecy and the signs of the time, especially the four major clues mentioned regarding knowing when these end times are upon us. Keep in mind, these words are a reflection of what has been written in scriptures. These words are a result of life that I am compelled to believe exists in the letter and the text of the scriptures. Pray and watch. All proof will come. As I present the face of these four signs, I invite you to have a prayerful mind and ask yourself, could or would chaos, civil unrest, economic collapse, turmoil, etc., could these things be present during the rise of the signs of the times? Will timing be a critical component to gathering people to safety? If we wait until mass confusion, how likely will it be for us to reach destinations that may be miles away, destinations that may entail crossing rivers, seas, and or mountains? Seek to hear with precision the living guidance and instructions from the Spirit of Yahushua. And don't forget, the mouth of a donkey was once opened to save a life. It is also written in Scripture that the Almighty Father would make the stones cry out if necessary. Also, don't forget, He used us one towards another. Moving forward in this segment, let's begin. The face of famine. Famine is defined as an extreme scarcity of food, starvation, a ravenous appetite, a great shortage. Now I ask you, my brothers and sisters, ponder on this definition. An extreme scarcity of food, starvation, ravenous appetite, great shortage. This defines famine. Now look at what resulted in 47:19 of Genesis, which tells us that the people willingly gave themselves over into slavery. Keep in mind in Genesis 47 chapter that Joseph was in charge of the granaries which were filled in preparation for the massive famine in Mizraim. But I ask you, who will command the food inventories in the coming days? Who has prepared for such a famine as man never before have experienced? I stated never before because never in man's history has the population outpaced food production to the magnitude we are witnessing that is unfolding today. If people are willing to give themselves over to slavery, where does it end and with whom will they serve? What will a slave do in the midst of what is described to come regarding famine? The bottom line, my brothers and sisters, we either will serve one master, the master, Almighty Yahuah, or the enemy. There's no middle grounds. Influence either originate from Almighty Yahuah through His set-apart spirit sent in Yahushua's name, or from the enemy. While we may not fully come to grips with the true functions that are demonstrated in these earthen vessels, we know as our bodies, it does not mean we can do whatever. It does not mean we can do whatever we choose. So in other words, my brothers and sisters, we may not understand fully how things work. This will not excuse us. Seek to understand, seek to worship, seek to obey. Yes, there is a degree of choice that we have, and within this scope, within these parameters, these borders, these guidelines, our decisions come with benefits and or consequences. In coming days, people will betray one another. Some will attack friend and family. Groups and cliques will form, including and up to militias, all for the purpose of getting control of food. There will also be those who are willing and will kill over access to food. Consider this, my brothers and sisters. Consider how people will become desperate. Yes, my brothers and sisters. Look around. Look around. There will be those willing to kill. Where will Yashar'al be? Who will be the martyrs of Yashar'al? What is the fallout of those who succumb or give in to unbelief and or are led by false guides? Is coming, Yashar'al. Prepare and seek to discern living instructions and guidance from above. Begin to ask questions, multiple questions. It is through questions that answers will be discovered and magnified. What about the face of drought? Drought is defined as a period of dryness, especially when prolonged, specifically one that causes extensive damage to crops and prevents their successful growth. Another definition of drought is a prolonged chronic shortage or lack of something expected or desired. Yes, my brothers and sisters, look around, examine news feeds and blogs. It really will not require much work to find witness to the conditions of our farmlands across the globe. Consider the magnitude of the droughts that are listed, and consider the fact that our population continues to grow at a rapid pace. If you are truly interested to examine these conditions further, consider the pollution and contaminants being introduced into our freshwater ecosystem. Additionally to all that I've mentioned so far, saltwater sea levels are rising and infusing with the fresh water. Climate conditions are warming. And to add more to these events, remember there are many products manufactured that require water to produce. The demand for water is increasing at an accelerated pace, and the availability of fresh water is shrinking, my brothers. Family, it does not take rocket science to conclude that a lack of fresh water contributes to food shortage. The emerging conditions will enlarge and will reach our doorsteps. Let us not be remiss and consider our brothers and sisters in parts of the world who are already experiencing the severity of drought and famine. Just think, you and I could have been born or for some reason transported to regions that are currently facing major challenges regarding famine and drought. What is mercy and favor? What is the face of mercy and favor? Will we continue to be arrogant and take for granted what the Most High has done in our lives? Will we continue to be insensitive to our brothers and sisters who are in the thick of famine and drought already? Some even in the United States. Pray and watch. Our insensitivity to the living guidance and instruction prolongs the coming together of Yashar'al. We are currently slow to embrace living instructions and guidance. Unbelief is running rampant. Soon we will be given the opportunity to continue to slumber and fall victims to distractions and unbelief or rebellion. Or will we choose to worship and obey? Moving right along, the face of pestilence. Pestilence is defined as a contagious and infectious epidemic that is virulent and devastating, like a plague. Another definition is something that is destructive, like locusts, termites, and other ravaging insects. Disease is defined as an illness that affects a person, animal, or plant, a condition that prevents the body and or mind from working normally. Another definition of disease is a problem a person, group, organization, or society cannot stop. Let me ask you. Let me read that again. Another definition of disease is a problem a person, group, organization, or society cannot stop. So here's the question for you. Could greed, excessive debt, excessive unemployment, economic collapse, increasing poverty, could these fall into the category of a disease or the results of a disease? My brothers and sisters, it is time to be true to ourselves and acknowledge the realities of what is before us. Establish an earnest mind and body to worship and obey Almighty Yahuah, and come to grow in a relationship with a living, set-apart spirit He sent in Yahushua's name. Failure to accept Yahushua as Mashiach, as Messiah, will result in much regret and disappointment. For it is through Him that we receive restoration and fellowship with the Father, and it is through Him that we are regenerated, through His atonement, through His death, His sacrifice, and His resurrection. It is through the plan of the Almighty Father Yahuah that opportunity of life is before us. It's time for us to start realizing the true structure of these earthen vessels and how the things we do in them are influenced. I'll leave you with these two verses. Matthew 6:26. Because of this I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat or drink, or about your body, what you shall put on. Is not life more than the food, and the body more than the clothing? Matthew 16:25 reads, for whoever wishes to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever And whoever loses his life for my sake shall find it. In both these scriptures, this was the Mashiach talking. My brothers and sisters, clues of destruction are before us: famine, drought, pestilence, and disease. What are you seeking to do with your life in this earthen vessel? Be encouraged. All that is written will be fulfilled. Know this, my family, my brothers, my sisters. There is so much more to life. Come and embrace the living words of instruction and guidance that leads to life immeasurable. Hear what the Spirit is saying to us individually and as an assembly. Yashar'al will awaken. Yashar'al will come together, a nation of believers. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, my family, pray and watch the awesome power of the Almighty Father Yahuah through the set-apart Spirit he sent in Yahushua's name. Pray and watch as all things that are written become fulfilled. Until next time, my brothers, my sisters, my family, shalom, shalom, shalom.